समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Is there a ceasefire in the Middle East or is fighting still going on? The fact is, both are true. There is a ceasefire that is between Iran and the US, Israel, and the GCC countries, but there is also fighting that's between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. So in Lebanon, Israeli Air Force carried out more than 100 raids on Wednesday. Those raids continued into Thursday. Iranian government, particularly Iranian parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, he said that Iran intends to deliver explicit costs and strong responses, and says that if Israel is not respecting the ceasefire in Lebanon, that Iran also sees no need to respect the ceasefire. In fact, they also announced on Wednesday night, also Thursday morning, that they were closing the Strait of Hormuz again. However, that's a doubtful thing because some traffic is getting past that. The White House spokesperson said that people say different things but do different things, and some traffic is passing. We can see that. So this tamasha is going on. Netanyahu also said today, that is Thursday, that he will not stop fighting, he will not stop the raids until, and I quote from him, until full security is restored to the residents of the north, that is the north of Israel.
Now, Netanyahu said this a few hours ago, but this is such a fast-moving target that even as I am recording this, he's issued one more statement saying that he'll be setting up some talks with Beirut, that is the Lebanon government, in the next few days about the Hezbollah problem. This follows nudges from Donald Trump to go easy in Lebanon so that the ceasefire is not broken, ceasefire can survive.
With this unfortunate turn of events in Lebanon. Now, what happens in Lebanon is something that we've spoken about in the past. There was a full episode explaining Lebanon, this really unfortunate failed state, of which I will share a link with you. In Lebanon, large parts of the country are occupied this militia or this terrorist organization called Hezbollah. No hesitation calling it terrorist organization because most of the rest of the world calls it terrorist organization, including all the GCC countries. Iraq doesn't, but all GCC countries also call it a terrorist organization. And in the course of time, Israel has carried out many operations, assassinating bulk of the key Hezbollah leaders. Also the big pager operation called Operation Grim Beeper, in which lots and lots of Hezbollah people, key people some were killed, but many others were seriously wounded and also thrown into complete confusion. Hezbollah, however, has been able to recover quite effectively from all of that. And only today, Israel claimed that they've assassinated the nephew of Naim Qasim, Ali Yusuf Hershi, the Secretary General of Hezbollah. And they say he's the one, the nephew is the one who was running his office and organizing the forces. Hezbollah literally means the army of Allah. This is a Shiite force. This Shiite force came into being in 1982. This was set up by some Shiite clerics in Lebanon. Lebanon has a very fascinating demographic. That is something we spoke about in that full episode, but I will also tell you a little bit as we go along. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution took place. Shortly after that, PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. These were Palestinians. They were located, or they had sanctuaries in southern Lebanon. They started mounting attacks on Israel from there. These also included the Abu Nidal group, which was one of the deadliest PLO groups. Israeli army launched operations against them. That was the first Lebanon war that the Israeli army got involved in. It was in that mess that a bunch of Shiite clerics in Lebanon said, look, Lebanon, there's an opportunity, we have to fight Israel, it's an evil country, etc., etc. So we can't leave it to PLO, we will set up our own force. And that is when Iranians got involved as well. And Shiite clerics launched Hezbollah, and they also swore allegiance to the supreme leader of Iran. Effectively, from that moment, large parts of Lebanon became an Iranian political colony. And now Shias are not all of or majority of the Lebanese. Lebanon, as I told you, has a fascinating population mix. Although over time Christian population has come down, but roughly you would say it's one third, one third, one third. So about 65% of Lebanon is Muslim, of which Shias and Sunnis are about half and half. And the remaining 35%, about 30% are Christians and 5% are Druze. Druze can be identified as this or that, but in Lebanon they are bunched with the Muslims. Once again, the peculiar Lebanese political system. I had explained this in the earlier episode also. In the peculiar Lebanese system, power is divided constitutionally between various communities. So very much like जिसकी जितनी आबादी उसका उतना हक, to each rights and powers according to their population. So if you have these three groups, Christians, Maronite Christian group as they are called, it's the Maronite order. They get to choose the president. They get to have the president. The prime minister is a Sunni Muslim and the speaker of parliament is a Shia Muslim. Again, in terms of parliament seats, it's 50 and 50. 50% Christian, 50% Muslim, with which they also bunch the Druze. It is that complex a country. In that country, Hezbollah is actually a political party. It's a legitimate political party that has been contesting elections and winning seats in parliament since 1992, when it won 8 seats for the first time. In the latest election that took place in 2022, Hezbollah won 13 seats. It's often been part of the government. It's had ministers, although this time the coalition of which Hezbollah was a part did not win a majority. In any case, governments don't survive in Lebanon. That caretaker government that was set up in 2022, that failed to control the situation like every government in Lebanon's history. There was a government in 1982, in fact, which signed a peace deal with Israel, and that was the government under Bashir Gemayel. Bashir Gemayel was the president then. He signed a peace deal and everybody thought this will lead to many decades or maybe many generations of peace. Within days, Gemayel was assassinated because peacemaking is a very dangerous business there. This caretaker government, latest caretaker government, was dissolved in 2025. They failed to control the situation post October 7, 2023, and a new government, a regular government, came into power in 2025. There the president, as I mentioned to you earlier, president has to be Maronite Christian, prime minister is Sunni Muslim, and speaker is Shia Muslim. This was a caretaker government which is still there. Once again, given the principle in Lebanon, president is Joseph Aoun, prime minister is Nawaf Salam. Days after Israel and US attacked Iran, Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, obviously a Sunni Muslim, said, and I quote from him, "This is a devastating war that we did not seek or choose." However, nobody listens to him. Nobody listens to anybody. Shias may be one third of Lebanon. Hezbollah may be just one of the factions among the Shias, but Hezbollah has a large army. Hezbollah army, at one point, Hassan Nasrallah, who was the head of Hezbollah, subsequently assassinated by the Israelis, he had claimed that he's got 100,000, 1 lakh fighters. Generally, you can see that global security organizations, analysts, think tanks think that Hezbollah has anything between 25 to 40,000 fighters. It's a lot of people in those areas where populations are so small. Think about it. Israel is just about 1 crore people. Lebanon is just a little short of 6 million people, just a little short of 60 lakh people. And since outmigration continues all the time, I don't know what the number is right now. So there, to have an armed group with 40, 50,000 fighters. Also, if you read international think tanks, until a few years ago at least, it was said that Hezbollah has a larger artillery than most countries in the world. This may have changed now because Houthis in the meanwhile have acquired a lot more. Now you can argue with this. You can say Hezbollah is still the most militarized or most well-armed non-state actor, because Houthis might claim that they are no longer non-state actors. They have a state to themselves, at least North Yemen, if not all of Yemen, which is what they claim. However, those are just arguments. I am listing all these points to explain to you the chaos that exists in Lebanon right now and the reason why Lebanon continues to be an ungovernable country. Lebanon itself, Lebanon National Army, is 80,000 soldiers. They have some weapons, but again, they are divided on demographic basis and they are very weak in their command and their structures, and they are not willing to fight anybody. Successive Lebanese governments have said that everybody will be disarmed. Over the decades, going back 50 years almost, over the decades, successive United States Security Council resolutions have called for all groups to disarm and disband themselves. Many have done so. At one point around 1982, at one point between 1979 to 1982, many militias had come up. There was a Sunni militia, there was a Christian militia, there was a Druze militia, besides two Shia militias. All the others disbanded themselves. However, Hezbollah had no intention of doing so. How powerful is Hezbollah now? I will give you an example. Just after this war started in Iran and Israel started paying attention to Lebanon because rockets had started coming in from Hezbollah targeting Israel. At that point, the Lebanese government decided that they were going to expel the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon, because obviously they said that he was interfering in their internal affairs. He was basically, the insinuation was that basically he was guiding and leading the Hezbollah forces. Ambassador Mohammad Raza Shebani, however, did not leave Lebanon. The government to which he was accredited expelled him, but he did not leave. And different Shiite groups came out to say that they will not allow him to be expelled. And Iran continues to run its embassy as it's always done. Iran also said that they have no intention to shut their embassy. That led Gideon Sa'ar, Israel's foreign minister, to say that Lebanon is a virtual state that is in practice occupied by Iran. That's where this fighting is going on now. Now, while this fighting is going on, Israel now says they have no intention of stopping the fighting. If you see the Iranians say that Lebanon was very much part of the ceasefire deal, that Israel and America are committed that fighting will stop in Lebanon as well. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also said in his tweet specifically that there will be ceasefire everywhere, including in Lebanon. However, Israel said Lebanon is not included. The Americans also say Lebanon is not included. The White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt, the familiar face that we see almost every evening, she said this is wrong. It's explicit. There was no ceasefire agreed upon in Lebanon. Trump was asked a question by one of the journalists who said, I spoke with President Trump on the phone. He said, no, Lebanon was not included because the problem there is Hezbollah. And he said, in the course of time, this problem will also be sorted. So Israel and the US do not accept that the ceasefire extends to Lebanon. Hezbollah says, if the Israelis are fighting, initially Hezbollah had said that they will honor the ceasefire in Lebanon, but they had also presumed that there is ceasefire in Lebanon. Israel and the US have no intention of accepting that because Hezbollah is too close to Lebanon. It is too dangerous. It's too risky for them to let it prosper. They don't want to give it any period of peace. Now they've cut off many of Hezbollah's supply links. For example, a lot of the supplies from Iran into Lebanese territory used to come through Iraq. Iran has a lot of support in Iraq. They were corridors through Iraq, then going into Syria and coming into Lebanon. All of that has now stopped, mainly because Syria has had a change of regime. Assad is no longer there, and the Mashara, the current leader, is aligned with the West. It's aligned with the West, is friendly with Israel. They don't let the Iranians bring anything in. Yet Hezbollah has been able to rebuild itself, because if at one point it had 75,000 short-range rockets and missiles, maybe at this point it has 25,000. That's bad enough for a country which might be running short of interceptors. These missiles are not very long range, but they also don't live as far away as Iran. They live just miles from Israeli border, and they can launch these at Israel, particularly at Israel's northern districts which border Lebanon. Israel has had a chronic problem with Lebanese instability, because in Lebanon, earlier it was the PLO. The 1982 war was against the PLO, and ultimately Israel succeeded in expelling the PLO. But you know what happened? They got PLO out, and they got something from their point of view worse than PLO. They now got Hezbollah, which was much more ideological, much more radical, and which had a clear foreign supporter. Clear foreign supporter being revolutionary Iran. Effectively, by expelling PLO from its northern borders or from southern Lebanon, Israel opened up the region for Iran. So they drew Iran into their neighborhood. Otherwise, Iran is 2,000 kilometers away. Now, Iran was sitting next door to Israel. That is something that Israel wants to end now. I can give you a quick rundown of what happened in decades subsequent to the 1982 Israeli invasion. After that, there was a 2-decade occupation of southern Lebanon by Israel. In 1990, the Lebanese civil war ended. Among the groups there, these are Christian groups, Sunni groups, Shia groups, Druze groups, that ended. And 1991, Lebanese parliament gave everybody amnesty and ordered all militias to be dissolved. All militias did dissolve themselves except 2. One was Hezbollah, and second, SLA. SLA is South Lebanese Army, which called itself sort of secular and Arab, but wasn't so powerful. In the course of time, it disappeared. Hezbollah continued to control much of the Shia majority areas, including parts of Beirut. Hezbollah also became like 2 factions, 2 groups. Factions is the wrong word for me to use. 2 groups. One is the political group that was overground, that was fighting elections, and the second was the military wing. So it wasn't that difficult from the way Hamas evolved subsequently. That military wing is what is fighting right now. The political wing sits in Lebanese parliament. There were many other agreements because other Arab countries got involved. 1989 was a Taif agreement. Taif is a city close to Makkah with Saudi intervention and Saudi mediation, where everybody again agreed to lay down their arms, but everybody did, not Hezbollah, because Hezbollah was controlled by the Iranians. Again in 2004, Resolution 1559 of United States Security Council asked all to disarm and disband. Everybody did but Hezbollah. In 1978, the UN even sent its peacekeeping force called UNIFIL, or United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon. It's now been nearly 50 years. This year they'll wind up and go because nobody wants them there. They are able to make no difference in Lebanon. This will be a complete UN failure over 50 years. Now, UN Security Council Resolution 1559 of 2004 may not have brought about peace, but the Israelis and Hezbollah and the groups kept on fighting. By 2006, Israelis withdrew from Lebanon. And when they withdrew from Lebanon, an agreement or understanding was arrived that south of the Litani River, and that's where this becomes very important. Litani River, look at the map. Now, when you look at the map, it looks like a lot of territory, but these are not large territories. These are small countries. Litani River is 145 kilometers long, and this sort of cuts the south of Lebanon like this. To the north of Litani River, to the south of Litani River, there is a territory to the south of Litani River that borders Israel. Israel wanted all Hezbollah fighters to cross over to the other side of the Litani River, to the northern side of the Litani River, so no weapons remain on this side. However, this was only honored for some time. In the course of time, Hezbollah people started coming across the river, and once again it wasn't possible for the Lebanon government to control them. Now Litani River, or the region south of the Litani River has been a thorn in Israel's side for a long time. On 11th March 1978, an incident infamous in history as the Coastal Road Massacre took place. Now, this is when a group of PLO guerrillas, they landed by boat south of Haifa in mainland Israel, and they hijacked a bus. They hijacked a bus and killed 38 people in the bus, all civilians, including 13 children. In retaliation, the Israelis launched Operation Litani. So once again, the idea was to clear the area south of Litani River so that no PLO or no militant organizations will exist in that area. That was carried out then. Israelis came back, and once again groups came in there because that is the region that borders Israel. What triggered the Israeli move into Lebanon in 1982 was an attempt on the life of Israeli ambassador to UK Shlomo Argov, for which Menachem Begin, the Israeli Prime Minister, blamed PLO's Abu Nidal group. Once again now, I will conclude this with the map of the zone showing the Litani River. See the area south of Litani River. That's what Israelis are after now. They've moved in there in force, and they've now made it quite clear that they have no intention of returning. Their point being that in the past there have been many agreements that Hezbollah or any armed groups will stay the other side of Litani River. That's not been honored, so now we can't trust anybody. We will occupy all territory up to Litani River and thereby redraw the region's borders, redraw Lebanon's borders for sure. Now, this is not that much territory. Once again, on the map, it looks like a lot, but the depth is just about 15 to 20 miles. Litani River itself is about 90 miles. That's about 145 kilometers. The width of the territory between Litani River and the Israeli border is between 15 miles to 20 miles. That is 24 kilometers to 32 kilometers. So what the Israelis are now trying to do is to shift their borders ahead by 24 to 32 kilometers across their northern border with Lebanon. That's what the immediate fight is about.